Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Meaghan Chitwood Live. This episode, we are talking. I brought Cameron back. I had to bring Cameron back. We have got to go through all the disc stuff with you. You are going to get a mini class on the disc profile and how and who you are and how that works. And then we're going to get down and dirty about my particular profile. So most of you think you know me, but I think by the end, you'll realize you didn't really know me. So let's get started. So I love the fact that each week we bring you education and or an interview with one of our BNI heroes, and you can catch us every Friday at 10 a.m. Central Time on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and also catch the replays as well on Instagram and LinkedIn. Go just look for Meaghan Chitwood and you'll find it. Cameron, welcome back.
I'm back.
I'm so excited to have you back. After we started our conversation last time and we were going through all of it, I thought, we can do a deep dive on exactly what DISC is so that everyone can really get comfortable with it. And then I love when people anyway, I can't wait to share mine as well, because I think it has helped me so much in understanding, one, how to be me, and then also number two, how to be with other people. So let's jump right in and talk about
get started.
What is DISC?
Right? I think a lot of people, it can seem kind of mysterious or whatever. And like we talked about broad brush, broad thing. It's a behavioral test. I always like to tell people it's not about their lost me for a second. It's just about tendency. So we're going to talk a little bit like the down and dirty, quick DISC assessment. So let's start.
Yep. So we can pull up the first. Yeah.
Okay. So this is your chart here on DISC. And you hear us like last week, we were talking about, they're a D, they're an I, they're a S, or they're a C. And you see the words that go with those. So dominance, influence, steadiness, conscientious. I always have a hard time with that. So when people are taking this assessment, what it does is it deals with how they deal with problems and challenges. So depending on that is how high your D is. How you deal with people and contacts is how high or low your I or your influence is. Pace and consistency has to do with S, and procedures and constraints has to do with conscientious. So if you're a person who really gets into problems and challenges, really strong on that, of course, the test is going to put you really high on the D. If you're really into, by your answers, pace, consistency, then you're going to be really high in the S. So it's not some crazy equation or anything. That's really how it comes up with those things.
That is so interesting. For my aha on this and how you just explained it is just that I'm going to be high or low in each of those areas in terms of my proficiency in them. And that's all this is measuring, is what is my proficiency at keeping a pace and consistency and so on.
Or how important it is to you. You like, whatever, what you might answer this.
Oh, even important. Okay. So even less about being good at it, but how important it is to this is going to bother me or not bother me, or I'm going to thrive or not thrive in this particular area.
Exactly. Like when it asks you, more likely this or more likely that, and you're like, oh yeah, love people, party, yes, that's high I, right? So people and contacts really high on my list. Now when it gets to procedures and constraints, I'm like, oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you more likely this or that, more likely to follow the rule book and ask about this and that. No, never. I'm probably answering no or never to those because I care not.
Love it.
My
Love it.
C is like non-existent. So that tells in my behavior, procedures and constraints is not high on my list.
Yeah.
But aka engineer or accountant, that's going to be, they're
Really
going to be like, oh yes, always follows the book, more likely, less likely, every single time. So yeah, okay,
Love it.
finish the move.
All right, next one.
So when you're looking, so then you're like, oh, Cameron, okay, that's great. I understand that, but I'm not taking, like every person you're meet, like, could you take an assessment, please? That's not going to happen. So when I teach my class, I talk about, okay, first of all, we can pretty quickly get it down to two. Is the person you meet very guarded or are they wide open? So when you're looking at this slide, what you're looking at is the guarded is the C and the D, the top two. Think of guarded as also like private. And the S and the I are wide open. Like I tell people, yeah, wide open. They're the person, or the I is, that will just tell you their whole life story, everything about them, their mom, their pa, oh, I had a surgery the other day, everything. Now, the little trick is the S's, like my son, they are open, but that's that person that you have to get to know, and then they're open. The private people, the D and the C, they're not going to share they're not telling you, no. A funny story. My mom, like every time we go, she's very high D. Every time we go into a store, you know how they ask you, like, can I have your email? Because they want to set you up. I literally have to go behind and do like the no. Oh my gosh, do not ask. Because it comes, she's like, is my money not good here? It's awful. Well, terrible. So say you obviously understand this person's wide open. And then you can also cut it down by, are they then, so say they're open, they're an S or an I, but are they indirect or are they really direct? Like I'm super direct. I'm like, let's do this, da, da, da. So I'm open and direct, I'm an I. But an S would be, they're not going to tell you what to do at all. So they're open. The C would be not going to give you their personal information, but not going to tell you what to do. The high D again, my mom comes back to me. She's not giving you her personal information. She is not giving you her email to do that. But she is directly going to tell you what to do.
Yeah, I love that. Because when I originally learned this, it was pace.
Can we drop this for a minute, Sarah?
So it was.
Yeah.
So it was pace. So if you're fast paced, right? If you're fast paced, then you are an I or you're an I or a D.
Right. That's it.
Yeah, or task orientation. Task versus people, fast versus slow, and you could kind of sort out. But I like this better because in a conversation, you can know if somebody's direct or not direct. And in a conversation, by how much I give you, you can tell if I'm open or I'm not open, right?
Meaghan, you are like the perfect student. I love you. See? Oh my gosh, this is so
well, and I have to tell, super funny. So
tell it.
Spoiler alert, Cameron and I are both high I. Spoiler alert on that one. And Cameron and I have had conversations that I have never had with anyone else in my entire life. Like that's how open permission we give each other to be. Is that so you team up with somebody who is like you and whoa, the conversations you'll have.
And I'm not going to tell the next part, but I will tell in a minute why that is that you say you only have conversations with me.
Yes.
Where I am a high ID and I have those conversations
with everyone. Oh yes. I was going to say, I'm not going to have them.
You would not have this conversation with everyone, but you have with me because you're maybe some of our students out there now could tell us why that it takes her just with me that she feels comfortable to have those open conversations. Can you guess why?
I
As
love
a
it.
former teacher.
I
So
love that.
that is so great that you bring that up. I didn't want to do a million slides, but yes, when I teach the class, I'm like, you can also tell people by those people that are direct are also fast,
Yeah.
I and D. And those people who are indirect are like,
Yeah.
are also the S and C.
Yeah.
Both of my children. Wow.
Oh, that has to be very interesting in your house.
Because God thought it would be funny. It was like,
Yeah.
oh, your ID, I'm going to give you an S and a C. I was like,
but that's what makes you so good at what you do is you've had to.
yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if you do
you've either really been extremely bad at it or you have learned it, right? One or the other, right? One or the other.
Yeah. You know, I tell them I'm at 120. I know you're at like 60. We're talking speed here.
Yeah.
But can you come to 80? Can we please come to 80? And you're right. Again, especially in business, think of this, people. This is so important when you're the leader. That top half is about task. If you're trying to sell something to a D or C, it's about task. If you're an I or an S, you're like, oh, this feels so good to me, and how wonderful we're gonna make this drink. They don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care. It's about task on that upper side. That guarded person is about task.
Yeah,
but down below, it's about people. Same thing. If you're that highly task person, you're trying to sell me something, you better come up with a dream.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the vision of this?
Yeah.
So
I literally said that yesterday. We were in a call and it was like, no. All you got to do is sell a dream. And I'm gonna have to go back and say, well, that's how you can sell it to me. It's just sell the dream.
That's right.
You can try it with somebody else.
The dream, somebody else. And so that's what you got to know. That's what, because again, it's doing to others as they would have it done. Okay, absolutely. Now we could really
the third one. Yeah, this is a good one. Here we go. Yeah, all the different words.
Yes. So now you're thinking, okay, that was a lot to think of, Cameron, but now I'm going to make it real easy. So if you're dealing with a high, you don't know. Okay, a D, risk taker, direct, forceful, self-reliant, decisive, competitive. Just think of who that might be. They're fast, like we talked about. They're guarded. They're direct. The I's, we've talked about us. Do you feel like that suits you? Influencing, trusting, sociable, friendly, optimistic, enthusiastic, fun people. I always say they need a protector, though. They need someone to protect them. I'm very trusting. And that can be, you got to know that. Yeah. S is calming, steady, loyal, consistent, relaxed, patient. But and then my other son, analytical, systematic, courteous, precise, focused, and a fact finder. So that's kind of, if you just take that in, that's kind of the four things. And I know you know a little bit about analytical, systematic. Does that sound
do. So I think we can transition to me. Yes. But also let's transition to mine, because what's interesting. So this is my profile.
Now we have your profile up on the right being your natural style and on the left being your adapted style.
So natural, this is what Cameron taught me, right? Natural is who I am when I'm by myself. Mm-hmm. And I start adapting when I get around people, and especially work. I focused on work when I was taking this one. But as you look at this, I just take a look at it. When I first did my initial DISC assessment years and years ago, the gentleman looked at my natural and said, I'm really surprised you made it through engineering school.
That's right.
And I was like, pardon me? Am I not smart enough to make it through engineering school? And he said, no, your C is just really low. And so you're not. So whenever somebody hears I'm an engineer and then they like get to know me a little bit, they go, oh my God, you're not the typical engineer. No, I'm not, because apparently I just really kind of enjoyed the education of it. I didn't naturally love what it is. But anyway.
You wouldn't see a high I like this. So it may be kind of hard to read. The high I is in the yellow. And, that's a people part. We typically see this a lot in sales. Salespeople, or entertainers, things like that. Loving people. Like we talked about in the first slide, this is someone how they deal with social people, stuff like that. So it's a little bit odd, maybe not the right word, but to see that. One of the things I want to point out here is if you look on the right in your natural style, that blue bar actually represents the C, like he was talking about, but it's brought up quite a bit in your adapted work. So
that could be my engineering training as well, but we also have some other theories.
Yeah. So the first thing I would ask when I'm doing this was so important for people. It's like, whoa, anytime, first of all, she is what she, naturally and adapted, pretty much the same, which is good for her internal emotional self. She's not widely adapting to something crazy. So that's good, because if you make a lot of adaptions, it's just a drain on you emotionally, and you're pretty well, but you are doing that. So always ask clients, what's going on there. And then your S is pulled up a little bit, but not terribly. And so that was one of the things that we talked about. Why is that C pulled up so much? Because anything you're doing outside of you naturally causes, it's an energy drain. That's, it's not, it's an energy drain.
Absolutely. I had a friend who did this. Natural style and adaptive style were randomly different. I mean, just like dramatically different. And literally the person looked at him, pointed at it and said, "Oh boy, you're a mess." And then in the work that he did, like, it's okay to be your natural self in the work that you do. Like, I don't know who made you think you had to become someone else.
Yes.
This is right. So several people, I think we can take this down now. Several people have come to me and said, I said, "What do you think I am?" I get D a lot. I get D a lot. And I think it is the S, right? I know if I do not show up and meet you where you are, I am going to be eaten alive, right? I mean, that's how I feel as an S. I say that about being a giver as well. If I'm in a room full of takers, I'm going to be exhausted and eaten up by the end of it.
Yeah.
So I meet you. So yes, when I am in a boardroom and someone challenges my idea, I probably do come across as very assertive. But people also have accused me a lot of being really competitive. And Strengths Finder is another really cool tool. It's not a behavioral style. It's what are your strengths. And my competitiveness, what looks like competitiveness is not actually competitive. It's responsibility. I feel like I have a responsibility to be the best that I can possibly be. And that just happens to look competitive, because me being the best that I want to be might put you behind me. Maybe, I don't really know, but it might put you behind me, might not, but it might put you behind me. Thus you think I want to do it because I want to be ahead of you, but I don't. I'm like internally trying to be the best me I can possibly be.
Well, I think that S too, like my oldest, who is a high S.
You're good.
Yeah, he is. We call him, when he was young, I would say he is our hall monitor, the hall monitor of our lives. Where me and the youngest like, whoa, and he's like, "Don't get too close to that. Don't do that." And it's that he needs the security, he needs the pace, he needs everything. Like, what's going to happen next? Where am I going to go? He started college this year. He was like very like, where I'm like, exciting change. And that's actually your more of your S, like you said, having to make sure everything's in line, everything's all right. Where is it going to be? Where am I going to go next? And that can be a fuel as well. And you are right. We have talked about this, about your S, not letting everybody take, being able to say no. I was in a class one time where people were like, the S's can be sometimes suckers, because it's like the little lady at church that always like, yes, I can do it. I can bring the casserole. I can do the, I'll take on the next whatever, because they will give so much. And so you've grown and I can have good boundaries and good limits to what I can give.
Some of the time. Did I mention to you that I'm the PTO president at my school?
Oh my gosh. I
apparently showed up as an S when they asked me to do that.
Now, we talked about that upgrade C. Now, tell them a little bit more about.
Yes. So one, I just could be the engineering degree, maybe. I don't know. No, really, I think the elevated C is. I believe Sean has never taken the assessment. I believe Sean is a CS. I'm an IS. He's a CS. I'm pretty sure. He is an engineer. And you talk about pace, Scott, our paces are like, and when you said, can we just meet in the middle? I say that kind of a lot.
Yes.
This morning, so I think that does really bring it up because I have watched and seen consistency habits. Like our children are really responsible because they know bedtime. We brush our teeth every night. We do this, right? That Sean does bedtime and it's like consistently done. I set the alarm to say it's bedtime because I need to set the alarm. High in the evenings. I'm done. I have no internal clock. But so I set the alarm and then they go and they do the routine, which I am terrible about. But it turns into things like like we were at the dentist and, for an 8-year-old boy, Keegan's teeth are really clean. I'm like, yeah, he understands routine. That's the reason why, but they're unbelievably responsible because we have routine in our house. Thank goodness, because of Sean, not because of me. And then I bring, obviously the other things. So yes, I am. Finances is another one. Like I am very financially different because Sean and I come together, right? And we do that together. When we do that,
are your expenses yellow like mine? That's what I tell my friend who's very, very high C. She's like, how's the business going and all this? I'm like, feels yellow. I think I'm yellow. And she's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Do you not have a spreadsheet? She's like, I look at my account 3 times a day. I'm like, why are you doing all that? I mean, that seems like a lot. I'm doing this. I'm doing well. I'm getting new clients. No.
Yeah.
And she is losing it. I mean, she's like, have you thought about cost? Have you done multiple spreadsheets? I'm like, no.
Yeah. But that's the person you have to bring on the team, right?
Yes, exactly.
Can you do that?
And love these people in my life.
Yeah.
I love them. Of course, I'm not married to one, but I love them.
No, I have to tell you, I really do appreciate it because I can see how it could have been like totally off I could be in a totally different space in life, right?
And I tell employers, especially if you got a sales staff, listen, this is the person you want.
Yeah.
But you got to help them. You got to give them some constraints, give them some tasks. And so those are also the kind of things that we talk about. So high eyes, they love to have fun. They have to have some kind of fun reward. There's got to be like, oh, we're going to make all our goals and then we're going to have a party. Then we're going to go away. I have a real estate team that I taught that they have a trip. They all make their goals. And then, like a nice trip.
Nice trip. Yeah.
Vegas, down to Mexico, nice. Yeah. And so for a team full of all eyes of some sort, that is awesome. And you have to sometimes just get them and know, once like we talked about last week, okay, I have diabetes. Now I have to take the insulin. Okay, I'm a high I, so I'm not super task focused. What kind of systems am I going to
put in place? Yeah, to make sure.
To get me to those tasks. So it's like, boom, okay, now I'm going to do the task. I do this, then I get rewarded. And that's what the high I needs. And then put those people in place to do your systems or help you with systems. Your S, we've talked about that. The constraint with that is don't let people, you got to learn to say no. Bringing down your C to the more natural level. Don't feel like, hey, Sean, that's your thing. Like we talked about buying the car, the house, whatever. Yeah. Go get all that material you need. Go do all the things you need to do. I don't need to do all that.
Well, so this morning, so I love BNI because I get to learn all these cool things at BNI chapter meetings, right? So I this morning, it reminded me, so army worms don't go away after one treatment. Just in case you didn't know.
New thing, everybody's
it's everywhere in Alabama for sure. So anyway, but I learned they don't go away in one treatment. So I called Sean and I said, hey, I just wanted to let you know, army worms don't go away after one treatment. So we're just gonna have to keep an eye on it. And he starts going into like all these questions about this and why and how and what should be done and all this kinds of stuff. And I was like, and I said, and after a few minutes, when I started getting like, oh my God, like I started getting frustrated, my response, because I was prepping for this show, was, Sean, I just wanted to let you know a little fact that I learned You can do with it what you want. I'm not asking you to do anything with it. I just wanted to give you a little fact that I know. And now you can, like, now we can do, whatever. So he was like, oh, okay. But he immediately thought, because I do that too, is I said we are army worms, and now in a minute, I'm going to call and get another treatment. That's what he thinks is about to happen. And I was like, no. I'm just telling you a little fun fact. That's all I'm doing. Yeah. But it might have been because last weekend I did jump the gun before he had a full scope of work he wanted to have done. I did go ahead and call to get a quote. He was like, you're a project manager. You should know that wouldn't you have a scope ahead of time? So my response to that was, no, my construction contractors would come and give me a quote whenever I wanted. So if I forgot something, I would just call them back the next day and tell them to come out and give me another one. Like, that's not a wrong way to operate. It's just another way of operating.
There's pluses and minuses to everything. But we have to learn adaptability. That's what I just keep pushing to people, that I think is so, like, people say, what? Okay, you know yourself now. And if you know the fears and concerns of everybody else, especially in business, although I have been after this, most of my classes, people say, you really could go into marriage counseling. You really could do that.
100%.
But, the thing of it is, if you know in business, people think in the higher C-suite world and whatever, they're like, I don't need this. And I'm like, yeah, you do. Yes, you do. So a friend of mine got like a national award for Starbucks, was the number one customer service person.
Oh,
right?
nice.
But they didn't understand him. They didn't appreciate, whatever. He's gone.
Because they didn't treat him the way he wanted to be treated.
Because it was high eyes, theater. They didn't treat. I said, can I please use this in my classes? He said, please go ahead. He's gone. And that is the same thing with project managers and engineering companies. I don't care. You're contracting for the government. You're doing whatever you're doing, and you've got whatever people you got. Now in this economy, you cannot afford the money to place another person. I was sitting in a room with a bunch of guys, a cigar place, and they were talking about if someone leaves, they were like, oh, heavens to Betsy, it costs so much to bring someone on. Like, if someone wants to come back, he was like, I'm just like, yeah. He goes, well, act like they can. But then I just call them and say, yes, you can come back.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. So if you're high I, you're high D, you're moving at this fast pace, and then you've got this C or this S who's brilliant, but you roll over, you steamroll them, they don't like it. If you've got a high I who's making you a ton of money because they're a wonderful people person, but you're a C, so you're all in the numbers.
Rated. Yeah.
And you're just like, well, your numbers are this, your numbers are that, da, 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 da. And you never tell her, we love you. You are so wonderful to us. She's gone.
Absolutely.
So that's why it's important. They think it's fluffy. No, it's about money. At the end of the day, it's about money.
Absolutely.
If you talk to those people, sell to those people in the way they want to be sold, I
tell you, I think it absolutely is a superpower. It's a superpower to have this in your toolbox, because I think that's the other reason why my eye comes down a little bit as well, is because I know, like, I'm going to be over the top for a lot of people. And in business, let's just bring it down just a little bit. But you put me in front of the room, I'm like full on out eye, pace fast, all that kind of stuff. We sit down for a one-to-one. I'm calm, I'm steady, I'm all into what's going on with you. And so I think it's really, and then I do immediately, I ask the question, like, what would you like to start with? And that can tell you who they are. If it's facts, figures, if it's goals, if it's accomplishments. We talk about the gains profile, gains exchange in BNI, right? You can literally sit down with a gains exchange and say, well, where would you like to start? And they'll tell you who that person is. If it's interests and it's family, it could be an S or an I. If it has to do with people, right? I want to talk about the people in your world.
Yes.
Now we've got that. If it's other, if it's
money.
Tell me about
I
your
want to
goals.
make $25,000 out of my this year.
Tell me what your credentials are. Tell me what your credentials are. You're probably talking to a C. So this is really just great information. And knowing, one, I also think it's really good to know yourself, because if I know who I am, I know how I'm going to respond in a situation based on this behavioral style. And I'll have pep talks with myself like, I know that just hurt your feelings. I know it did. It is business. The person this was not about your feelings. This was about a number, and you just need to relax. This was not about, my personal relationship. This is not about the fact that I am incapable of bringing together enough facts. It was that I didn't feel like doing it. So it's literally, and it just allows me also to respond differently, or like I said, give myself a pep talk in the actual situation. So
I know we're getting in the end here. This is so important, especially with those C's, and I think D, and I can be a D, and I like same thing. Got to pull it back. Their fear, the C's fear is they will make a mistake.
Yeah.
And I tell people, especially the people, and they come, prove that to me.
Mm-hmm.
And what we think is, well, you don't believe, it feels like an offense.
Yeah.
But when you learn this training, and what I teach is, it's their fear that they will make a mistake. And I keep, especially now, the way people treat you is about them. It's about them. It's not about you.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, they're not questioning your integrity. They are making sure they're not making a mistake.
Yeah.
They need all the information because they're scared to death they will make a mistake.
Yeah.
They'll sign.
Which I'm like, we can clean it up. We can always clean it up.
It's no big deal. But it's their needs.
Yeah.
Their needs that need to be met. And so once you understand that, you're like, oh, okay. That's what they need. Oh, yeah. I got you. It's not like, Cameron, you're a dummy and you better prove this to me. I've got to prove it to myself before I feel comfortable signing.
Totally.
The same thing with the D. They're so afraid that they'll lose control. I've got to have control of everything and I might lose control. So you better so I might not accomplish the next step. I might not, whatever. So let them, okay, you got to be in charge. You need to be in charge. You need to tell me. It's good. Let them have that control. Let them, as much as they can, different situations. So, the S's, I tell people, this is a big thing. Never let them ask a question that you don't find the answer or get, if you fluff it off,
doesn't matter.
Ooh, you look at her, you got uncomfortable and start scratching your head just when I said that. People don't believe this. There it is. Okay.
Yeah.
God, it's great to talk.
This is awesome. This is just so awesome. It is such a good, like I said, it's good. I think it's you become a superhero when you've got this. You've got a superpower that really helps you be successful, helps you connect with people, building relationships, understanding the other person. That's exactly where this is. Oh my gosh. That flew by again. Thank you, Karen, so much for being here. I love it. I love it. Yes. So next week is going to be Hal Craig. Hal Craig and I have known each other for so many years. He's been in different businesses within BNI. And he is currently a restaurateur. And so we'll be talking about what his experience has been as a caterer and a restaurant within BNI. So please do join us again next week, and we will see you soon.